Hey everyone, it's Stephanie with the Mermaid Trading Post, and welcome to an impromptu face reveal. If you are new to my content, this is the first time I've actually showed my face on this channel. I am a Twitch streamer though, full time. I play video games. If you're interested, let me know and I'll send you a link to that. But today we're going to be doing a video on your guys' questions. So I've gotten a few already. The first one I got was from Kristen Shane, and she said, I love seeing these videos. I would love to hear more about your best-selling items in the shop, if you notice any trends so far. And it does seem like you have a lot of inventory. I'll be waiting for the announcement of you opening your own shop or a bigger space. So I do have a lot of inventory. We'll get into that. I will talk about that. And then the other comment I want to get into is from Grace. And Grace said, I love these little vlogs so much. I'd love to see more videos about finances of running a booth and pricing. It's also interesting. So if you are new here, I did recently open a vintage booth inside of a resale shop. Impromptu, I guess I could go through that quick backstory for you. And I find items at thrift stores, garage sales, flea markets, wherever I can, and I flip them for a profit. So I've always been someone who loved going to garage sales and flea markets and all of the aforementioned estate sales, auctions, church sales, anything along those lines. It's a passion and a hobby of mine that I've done through my entire life and childhood with my family as well. And I also used to sell clothing. I owned a thrift store which primarily sold clothes for a decade before I became a full-time content creator. And so I picked this up as a hobby. I was taking a vacation, taking a little bit of a mental health break, and accidentally opened a shop. So basically in the middle of my vacation, I decided I had done everything I wanted to do. I was getting tired, I was getting bored, I wanted to come back to live streaming, and I still had a few days left. I was supposed to be taking a mental health break, so I didn't want to rush through it. I wanted to really explore everything. And so that Monday, where I had like 2 or 3 days left of the vacation, I woke up and I was like, I'm just gonna do whatever comes naturally. I'm not gonna force myself to go on dolphin cruises or whatever the heck I was doing that week. And naturally I woke up and drove around to different little shops, and I started looking for retail space. I've been itching to open another store again, although I don't have the finances or resources or time or energy to do that. But that's just where I was drawn. I was like, I'm gonna go look at retail shops and see if there's any empty spaces and just go talk to some shop owners and just get this out of my system for the day. And I wound up at a shop that I've been to before, and there was empty space right next to them that I had been kind of looking at. It was really cool. It was set up so that you could go in and put individual booths, and like it was always already sectioned out with like little walls and things and tape on the floor. And so they were basically a consignment shop, but it's not really consignment if you're not familiar with how they call them antique booths, even though I don't sell antiques. With how those work is they're technically vendors booths. So someone will rent or own the building, and they'll section off those little spaces and rent them to someone like me who wants to just come in and leave my stuff. And I price them, of course. I set them up nicely to look good, and they sell them and they give me a cut of the profits, which I will go over. I will spill everything for you guys today, get into all the financials. But yeah, I went there and it wasn't for rent anymore. So I went to the shop next door and I was like, do you know anything about the space over there? And she's like, no, what do you mean? I was like, well, it was for rent. And she goes, oh, well, it's not anymore. I said, yeah, that's what I mean. Do you know what happened? Did somebody come in and rent it? She goes, well, we did. I was like, oh, you did? She's like, yeah, we rented it. So they already sold vintage items and already had a few vendors in their spot. So now they have double the space. And I asked her to take me and show it to me because they had cut out like a arch already between the two shops so that you could go back and forth. And I think they had previously actually owned that shop and had moved to this one. I don't know the whole backstory, but it was a big empty space, and she said that she was just renting out the booth individually to vendors. And I was like, how much are you charging? So she showed me a few of them, and I pointed to the one that I liked, and she pulled out her like notepad with her measurements. This one's 100 square feet. Your rent would be $200 a month. And I was like, oh, okay, all right. I had never even considered this as an option before. So I started leaving, and then I turned around and I was like, you know what? I'll take it. And she was like, what? And in my head, I was like, what? And so I grabbed $200. I brought it to her. And I signed a lease, and it's a month to month. So there was no commitment. I knew that going in. She was shocked, I was shocked. And I was like, on a spur of the moment, it felt right. I didn't want to lose the opportunity because she had all of them rented out, I think, except for like 2 spots. And I knew I would regret it if I didn't take it, especially because I had already been visualizing myself in this space someday. I already liked the shop. It was dark blue walls, which you've probably seen in some of my booth videos, and I don't know, I loved it. I thought it was really cool. So $200 a month is what I paid. It's actually a few dollars more. It is, let's see here, $204.48. Now, I had no idea what I was going to do with this space. I literally went home and I laid in bed and I was like, what have I done? What have I done? I couldn't sleep. So I ended up waking up the next morning and I was like, well, I have some stuff I could bring. I have things in closets, but I have no furniture. And I had been looking on Facebook Marketplace the night before, just trying to wrap my brain around filling up this space. If I have a picture, I'll pop it here. But it was just an empty space with no fixtures, and I had knickknacks, but nothing to put them on. So I went through and I rented a U-Haul because I drive a really small car. So I rented a U-Haul. I called up an old friend and I was so lucky he wanted to come help me. I did give him $20 and bought him lunch. He was happy to help me for that. And I set up a little route of different places that I was going to stop to pick up this furniture. And the whole time I was so nervous. What if my friend doesn't show up? What if one of the people that I'm picking up one of the major items for, bookshelves and tables and stuff, what if they cancel? What if something happens to the U-Haul? Like, I was just a hot mess that day. And luckily, I don't know how, by the grace of God or whatever, whatever's out there, by the grace of something, I found my way easily through. It was literally like do all across the city. Everyone was there. Everyone was on time. It was just quick. Here's the money. Here's the item. Throw it in the back of the U-Haul and go. And I did break it down for you. I'm not going to go through every single item, but I basically got a wicker corner display, a few small tables, 2 white bookshelves, a 3-tier small stand, the driftwood shelf you'll see in my videos, a small easel, a mail holder, a small white end table, small white shelf, bathroom cabinet, shadow box, plant stand, a bamboo coffee table, 2 antique side tables. All of that, plus the cost of the U-Haul, plus the cost of the gas, plus the cost of the labor and the food and everything included for the labor, came to a total of, I'm bad at math, but it's just over $500. So it was like $530, somewhere around there, which sounds like a lot of money, but it's really not, considering some of it came, well, all of it came from my stimulus check. I didn't really have plans for that other than saving it for taxes, since I am a small business owner. And yeah, I was like, okay, this is an investment and we'll see where this takes us. So for $500, I literally started a whole brand new business, and that included the first month's rent. So 200 of that was the first month's rent. If we just counted the labor and the supply, the fixtures and stuff, it would have been $300. And again, I started with a couple of boxes of stuff that I already owned, and then I just started going to garage sales and flea markets and thrift stores and looking for good deals. And so I do have these sheets I get from the booth, or the owner of the shop. She writes down every single item that sells, the date that it sold for, the ticket number. So I make my own little price tags with my booth name, and I assign it a little serial number for accounting purposes. She writes down if it was cash or credit card, the shop fee. They take 10% of everything that I sell. If it's a credit card transaction, they also take, I think, 3% to cover the credit card fees. And then the last column is the amount of money that goes to me. And before we get into those, people were asking how much how I price my items. So I try to find stuff super cheap. You will definitely be able to go back and look at my haul videos and my shopping videos to see my thought process. For example, let's say I bought this for, I think I paid $1. I mean, really cheap. I try to find super good deals. I would sell this for about $15, and that just made that price up off the top of my head, just having a little bit of background in retail and knowing what used items go for. It's a nice big casserole. It's got butterflies. I might be able to do 20 or 25, but I like to keep them fairly cheap so they move quickly. And then I'll just look up to see if there's any sort of stamps or identifying things on them. This one says Ecstasy by Stafford on the bottom. And in fact, let me just quickly look it up and I'll show you exactly how I would come up with a price for something if I didn't just ballpark it in my head. Okay, so I just typed in Ecstasy Stafford into eBay. I'm looking at the current listings. You can also search by completed listings to see what they actually sold for, if they sold. There was nothing in the completed though. But there is a cake dish with the same butterflies for $20. A casserole, what is that, a deep dish? I don't know, some sort of, oh, it says pie pan. Sorry, that's really not easy to read. A pie pan for $25 and a mug for $3.50. So knowing that the cake stand went for $20 and the pie pan went for $25, that's what I said. This is probably worth about $20 to $25. I literally just guessed at that. Turns out I was right. And for $15, it'll definitely move. Now, honestly, I would probably price it at $20 now that I actually looked it up. And if it sat for a while, I would discount it to $15. But the general rule of thumb is to at least 4 times my money. And the way I come up with that is I figure I'm going to want to double my profit. So if I spend $5 on something, I'm going to want to actually sell it for $10 and get $5 in profit. But since she takes a fee and a credit card fee, and she also has the ability to negotiate up to 20% off of my items for me on my behalf without having to be there, I kind of calculated all that in there to come up with roughly another, 25%. And then I also account for discounts, like price reductions. So let's just use this as an example. If I would have paid $5, which I'm pretty sure I paid less, I would have priced it at $20, which is 5 times 4 times the amount. 5 is what I paid for it. 5 is the profit I want. Another 5 would go into account for any shop fees, shop charges, credit card fees, and the other $5 would account for if I were to reduce it by 25% to get rid of it someday and still make money. But that's just a general rule of thumb. I obviously try to look for things I could buy for $1 and sell for $5, $10, $15. And if it's a bigger, more expensive item, I try to just stick with doubling my money. So if I bought a really pretty lamp for $50, I'd be very happy to make $100 total, sell it for $100. So there's not really a formula to it. It's just kind of what I go by, kind of some thoughts into my head when I'm pricing things. And again, I did own a thrift store for 10 years, even though it was mainly clothing, shoes, and accessories. I'm usually able to look at something and just have kind of idea of what somebody would pay for it, and knowing what I would pay for it helps a lot as well. And so I will give you the breakdown of the financials now. However, I am not very good at keeping track of what I paid for each item individually. So I'm really just ballparking. And again, a lot of the items I owned already, so I don't remember what the heck I paid for them. But our very first month, we were open for almost a full month. The first item was sold on April 8th. And we ended up making a total, after credit card fees, shop fees, discounts, all of that, of $250.40. Now I do owe her $204.48 rent every single month. So she did the math that she owed me $45.92. So that's what I ended up taking home, was the $45.92. Not much money at all, right? I don't know if you guys were expecting that or not. Let me quickly count how many items that was. Okay, so that was 25 different items, knowing that I normally pay between $1 and $2 an item, sometimes more. You could generalize that I paid about $50 for that inventory, but I know I paid more because some of them were items that I had myself, and some of them were larger pieces. Like there was a wicker display that sold for $28 that I paid $50 for. So I definitely lost money that first month, which was expected. Didn't really know what I was doing. And, it was the first month there, and it wasn't even full the whole time. I was literally slowly bringing stuff in every couple days, every week. So yeah, I ended up taking home $45, but actual profit, negative a bit. All right, so then moving into May, let me tell you how many items I sold. Okay, so roughly the same 28 items this time. And my total to me after all the fees and everything was $314.09. Again, we have to subtract what I owe her for the next month's rent, which is $204.48. So she ended up giving me $109.61. I did the math previously, and I'm pretty sure the calculations came back after what I actually paid for the items versus what I ended up taking home. I believe I ended up losing about $40 that month. So again, a loss, but only the second month of being there, technically the first full month because of the moving in the first month. And I have to say, I'm not disappointed. For me, this is a hobby. So if I'm losing a little bit of money or breaking even, I'm still having fun going out and buying things. And you also have to consider the stuff that I did purchase that's there are things that hopefully will sell in the future and make more money. I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do with those. We'll get into that in a minute. But yeah, I'm just kind of experimenting and seeing what happens. It's also summer. It's kind of slow. So my plan is to wait a few more months and see if we get to a point where, after paying all the fees and for my rent and for the cost of the actual merchandise, and I'm breaking even or making an extra $50 or $100 a month, I'm honestly really happy with that because it's a fun thing for me. Like, this is what I love to do. This is just a passion for me. And of course, I'd like to make some money. I don't want to completely lose on that scenario. So let's talk about future plans. I kind of have two plans if things don't work out there. Let's say they kind of are going well and I'm maybe profiting $50, $100, maybe even $200 if I'm lucky. I would consider either expanding that space in that store, taking another one of her spaces for rent, which she had a little one in front of my shop that she wanted $100 a month for. Like, it's literally the aisle, like right in front of my booth. And the way that it's shaped and there's no walls or anything, it would just be somewhere where I would put furniture. So if I was finding a lot of good deals on furniture that I could sell to make up for that money, I would consider doing that. Or, like I said, finding just another open space in her shop, possibly going to another vintage or antique shop and renting a booth there, maybe diversifying the items so that all the nautical and pastel things stay here, and maybe the new shop test out more of the country, cottage, anything goes, whatever I get my hands on that's a good deal. The next option would be, of course, if I'm not doing well, if I'm losing money every month or barely breaking even and just not worth the time and effort to price and clean and move things there all the time, that would be where I would end up going and just boxing everything up, putting it into a small storage unit if I can't fit it somewhere in my home, and trying to just sell the displays, either asking her if she wants to buy them or donate them to her, or try to throw them on Facebook Marketplace or somewhere just to get rid of them for cheap. Worst case scenario, the big bookshelves and huge tables that wouldn't fit in my house, I could probably go donate to a charity shop. And I guess third scenario, best case scenario, I'm making a lot of money, things are selling well, I find that I have some extra time on my hands and I'm really enjoying this and really able to explore options in the future of opening my own shop. That could be a possibility. Now, of course, like I said, I'm a full-time live streamer. I love what I do. And so I don't see myself, shifting from that ever. But in the far, far future, let's say I'm an old lady and I'm no longer able to play video games on stream, or no longer want to, maybe at that point I could take the stuff I've accumulated throughout my life, which I have a lot of other stuff too I didn't sell. Like, I have a giant vintage brooch, like pin collection. I could see myself either owning my own shop for some extra money or to supplement, my retirement money, or even just doing it for fun, even living out of the shop. Like, if I had a storefront and an apartment in the back or apartment upstairs, that would be nice. That would be a nice way to live out, the later years in my life. Or you never know where life's going to take you. So worst case scenario, the stuff ends up in storage for the far future, and best case scenario, I'm able to expand to another booth, another shop, or maybe open my own shop and hire someone to run it for me if I'm making that much money, which I don't foresee happening. She did say most of her vendors end up clearing maybe a couple $100s a month, so I figure that's pretty realistic, just a hobby for now. So I hope that answers all of those questions. If you have more, or if I didn't explain anything properly or clearly, or just you think of other things, please leave a comment below. I love hearing from you guys. I will be honest, the video recording process is not my #1 favorite thing to do. I much prefer to just buy and sell the items, but I figured this would be a fun way to share what I do with my friends and hopefully new friends. And so if the videos start to slow down a little bit, that's why I'm losing a little bit of motivation to just sit and record. But if you guys are making comments and engaging with me and asking questions and telling me what else you want to see, that kind of stuff motivates me to make more. So don't forget to subscribe if you are brand new, or if you haven't done that yet, leave a comment again with any questions, suggestions, feedback, just hi, how's your day, if you would like to chat with me. And don't forget to like this video, because not only does it tell YouTube that you like this video and want to see more like it, but it'll also help push my content to other viewers who might enjoy this type of information. I never expected to sit here and go through all the financials with you, so I hope it was eye-opening. And again, I'm really curious, did you guys expect that? Was this expected, or did you think I was making a lot more or a lot less? A lot less than negative? I don't know. I don't know, but I'd love to hear from you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.